How you
What's
doing,
up,
my
man?
friend? It is good to see you.
Yeah, what's happening?
Man,
I got a
so
cold.
you got a
I'm a little
cold?
under the weather. Yeah, I just got a cold. It's okay. I'll be all right. I'm a little horsey, a little funny, but no problem.
Well, man, I'm just glad that you made time for me to talk about some things that we're going to talk about today.
Come on.
It's a very simple show. It's just based around digital dilemmas. So that's the name of the podcast, is Digital Dilemmas. And it's just
Okay.
talking about some of the problems and challenges we're facing with the internet and social media, and
Mhm.
just getting your perspective. I have some intentional questions.
All
There's
right.
no, I don't have to do intros and outros. I do all that stuff later. So we just get to have a fun conversation.
Sounds good, man. Well,
So
it happens to be something that spend a lot of time around, so
I
I'm
know
happy
you.
to
Oh,
have
you
this
don't even know. When
conversation.
Dylan was like, "You should interview Scott," I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's gonna be awesome." I definitely wanted to. So here we are,
Here we
um,
are.
with the purple man in the background,
Purple Angel, my purple angel. Yeah, the angel of now.
the
It's the
angel of.
angel of, it represents presence. It's my yeah, it was a it's part of a there was a project called Community of Angels in Los Angeles where they had these things and they were white and then we had artists paint them. So I had this artist Janice Grace, she painted it up at Universal City Walk actually there during the day, painted this thing and we did a kind of a fundraiser. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's about 7.5 feet tall. It has a new hat. I was just in Cabo and I spoke there and did a playing gig. And the lady that makes these beautiful hats gave me the hat. Well, I don't wear hats, but my angel does. So it has this crazy hat on it. So yeah, but it's actually a pretty interesting project. I also have these little on the back. There's kind of the way the thing is designed, drawings, all these like little feathers, and I had these little wooden hearts made, and I'm having celebrities paint on them and then sign
Oh,
them. So I got 60 spots. I got about 25 done. Got some pretty great people on it, and then
that
one
is
day
so neat,
I'm gonna auction it off as a for a charity event or something at some time.
man. We're already having fun. What a cool idea! I think
Yeah, there
that's
you go.
so neat. Yeah. Wow. And yeah, I only wear hats when I reach certain hair lengths.
Yeah, there you go.
When I get to a certain hair length, I start wearing hats again.
There you go. Yeah, nah. Hats and me just don't seem to work. I look goofy in a hat, so I don't wear a hat. I look goofy enough as it is. Putting a hat on to make me goofier is not anymore. Don't need that, right?
You crack me up, Scott. I'm already having fun. I'm so glad just to get to sit down and talk to you. So, one of the questions I love to ask, it's a
Mhm.
very loaded question, which I always try to make sure any question I ask is usually loaded because then it's fun. Um, what is one thing that you detest about social media as it is right now?
The brainwashing, the algorithms that are basically dividing our country and dividing the people. It's very sad using behavioral science like this to basically make people believe things, the fake media stuff that's going on, because it's clearly, we never had these issues like we have now. Man, I used to be able to go to dinner with friends and we could have conversations no matter which political side you're. Now you can't. It's like just hatred. So the thing I hate about it most is whoever controls the algorithms wins and
Mm,
controls the people. And that's what we're seeing happen right now. So the part of
that's a
social
very
media,
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and it's destroying the children. I mean, it's used as a weapon in a sense for people for control. You're seeing it. I mean, this isn't a conspiracy anymore. Just look what's
Right. I
happening.
mean, I mean,
Children.
with the amount of evidence now, I don't, I would find it hard pressed to find that many people who would disagree with the fact that there's a huge amount of manipulation, misdirection going on. I think about even in the early days of when I was on Facebook, probably one of the worst things for me to do. I started to find more conflict with the people I used to enjoy time with. Like, for instance, if you have a buddy and let's say, play music together and you just like to go over and you like to jam out. That's what you
Mhm.
do.
Right.
But then what happens is they go onto Facebook and they say some political thing you disagree with, and then you bicker on Facebook, and next thing
Right.
you know, you don't want to play music together anymore.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
in
like,
it.
why did that get mixed up in it? They're two separate things.
Yeah. What's so interesting is people got a real. I mean, it's getting pretty obvious that this isn't just happening because it's happening, right?
Right.
We know that there is an agenda that is coming out from all of this. And I mean, there's no question. If you look like even out of China, if you go to China and look at TikTok, all the stuff is, oh, go to school, education, get right. Over here, it's young girls. It looked like, it's like, crazy sex shit and all kinds of stuff where they're just destroying the youth and their mentality. And so I think this is really being used now to dumb down America. It's really sad because the potential for what this could actually be if it was being used for the good of humanity as
Like the
opposed
promise we were
to,
given. The promise was that it
yeah,
was going to connect us to the things
yeah,
that we love, but
yeah.
instead it does the exact opposite. But, speaking of potential, is there anything you personally like about social media where it is right now? Are there aspects of it that you are like, well, I do like this part, or I do like this use for it?
Well, I mean, there's no question. There's, obviously when people can have common ground and have a conversation. I mean, it's nice not to have the common ground, but the
Yeah.
ability to communicate worldwide, the ability to basically do your work from anywhere in the world at any time in any place. I mean, and social media allows us to connect. So, I mean, that's all good. The problem is that it's now gotten to the point where it's basically become so addictive and it's completely taking over people's
Mm.
minds. And like I said, the biggest issue, it's destroying the youth. It's destroying, and this whole idea of being an influencer, that's your new business. I mean, some of these kids, because they look good or they do something, now they got all these people, but they're not really learning skills, an influencer. Influence what?
Right. What are they
Right.
doing?
I mean,
Yeah.
I love the concept of being an influencer, somebody, but influencing on what? I mean, it's just, you can see that it's being weaponized in a sad
Oh,
way
yeah.
to basically manipulate and control the people. There's a book out that's called Hooked: How to Create Habit Forming Products. And Hooked, it's a great book. I mean, everybody, I mean, if you're a business person, you should read it. There's actually it's a formula that's used, all the social media companies, everything. It's a behavioral science model. There's a trigger, then a reward, then a thing. And it just does this cycle over and over again as a way to get you hooked on products. Now, use it in a good way to get people hooked on things that are valuable to society,
Right.
humanity.
Like
Awesome.
good habits versus bad
Good
habits.
habits, good things. There's things that you can do that makes total sense. And you go, wow, it's a great formula. But then even in the book, he has a place, this is very dangerous because it can be used in a dangerous way too to hook people into the model. Any business person, everybody out there, you should go read this book. I mean, it's all about the insanity of the human condition. Hopefully the good humans will take advantage of this and do good things with it and not be using it for bad things. But again, with AI coming on right now, I mean, I think what we're about to go through is people have no idea what's about to happen over the next 24 months. This next year is going to be
So is
crazy
there
because,
anything particular about AI that excites you, or is it more of a
oh,
cautionary that you're more concerned?
well, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, AI in a lot of ways, there's a lot of exciting things if you use it again, if the right humans use
Yeah.
it in the right way. But the downside is people don't realize that they're designing themselves out right now. Right. I mean, we know, I read an article not too long ago. It was talking about 30 million people being out of work in the next couple of years. 30 million. Right. I mean, so we've got some massive challenges. And again, you're not going to know what's real. Right. I mean, I was watching the other day, I was cycling through a social feed. Up came this bird, and I was, wow, that is the coolest bird I've ever seen in my life. I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. To find out that it was AI, right?
Mm.
And so now I thought that was a real bird, but it was really just a fake bird. So you start thinking about what happens to the children when they wake up and they're using their phones as their teachers, right? The AI is going to be teaching them. The question is who programmed what's in the AI, what's the
Right.
bias and things that are
It's the
there
same
now.
problem as before. It's like, who has these social media tools and what are they feeding through those tools? Because if you do it in the right way, AI can be extremely helpful and useful
Unbelievable.
and efficient.
Yeah.
But and in the wrong way, it's gonna be a master weapon of destruction. I was talking to someone else on the show earlier this week, and she was the need for authenticating original content and authenticating original accounts, because the problem is that you have all these big platforms. It's like when you trust the government to do anything, And
Hmm.
you're like, we all know government's corrupt. Even the best governments are corrupt. Like that's in their nature. That's how they self-preserve. Because
Yeah.
the less corrupt a government is, the less power and authority it has.
Right.
And so what happens is that you've got people like YouTube who go, oh yeah, we have authentication process. And you go, well, give me some transparency. What is it? Well, they won't tell you. They won't
Right.
tell you how they authenticate accounts. They won't tell you the appeals process. They won't tell you who made a decision to say yes or no. They don't tell you anything. And
No.
we're supposed to trust them, even though we know that they're part of the problem. And we're
Right.
supposed to trust them
Yep.
to help authenticate the real version of ourselves.
Yeah, well, that's where we're going. I mean, if you think about it, that's why I'm a decentralized maxi. I'm all about
Yes.
decentralized systems. And I think that's the plot. That's why we're seeing such a, what I'll call a war against decentralization. The model is right. They're really trying to push us on decentralized systems. Ideally, if you listen to the World Economic Forum and all of them, they're all about like a centralized government, better for the world, this reset of a new way of thinking, no sovereignty. Basically, you're under the control of a centralized digital currency, which would be slavery.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I don't like what you said, shut you off. And I'm not just saying that. Go look in China right now. I just saw
Well, we've already
a
seen
little.
that. We already see that now. Yeah, before the whole idea of a digital centralized currency. I mean, those plays on just trying to create something to make people dependent so that they
Yeah,
lose all authority. Because if we move to a centralized world currency, then democracy, republics, none of it matters.
it's all over. Yeah, it's
We
done.
already know that our government's corrupted by money. Now
Oh,
imagine
yeah.
the world ran on one currency. There'd be no
Oh,
such thing as government anymore. It would just be the highest bidder. Makes
it'd
the
be the
laws.
AI controlling you. It'd just
Yeah.
be the AI saying, "Hey, I don't like what you said. I'm shutting your account up. Oh, you used up all your carbon credits this month. Sorry, you can't heat your home today." I mean, people don't realize that this is a very very touchy time. Now, saying that, I don't. I think it's I believe that people are waking up now at a level that we've
Yes.
never seen on a global basis, not just in the
Yes. The
United States,
hope.
but every. It is definitely people are standing up. If
And
you
we're
just go look,
we're
yeah,
seeing it beyond just, because crypto and NFTs get a bad name because of all the people who come in and
do rug pulls and all that
yeah,
crud.
rug pulls, but also just idiots who blame a project versus having a little self accountability
Yeah.
for themselves. Like I call people out that for all the time. I'm like, sure, that project rugged you, but at the same time, you were an absolute idiot. Like you did no research, and anywhere else in the world, you would have never made the decision that you made here. You were greedy and you were willfully ignorant, and you got burned for it. Were they wrong for what they did? Absolutely. Hold them accountable. Let's do something about that. But you need to hold yourself accountable for the
Exactly.
decisions you make,
Yeah.
right? And so I agree with you. I think that we're not just seeing people wake up in the currency world. I think we're seeing them wake up in the data control world, influence world. And when I say influence, we're seeing a huge boom in homeschools. Homeschooling is taking off. And in
Yes.
fact, for the first time, arguably in history, we have homeschooling startups that are creating basically Airbnb versions for homeschools. And it's like, there's a wake up there. There's
Oh, big
millions
time.
and millions of people who say,
Yeah.
I want control over my life.
Yeah. That's the point right now. It's we're seeing that shift. It's going to be ugly for another a bit, right?
It
And you're like
has
we're going
to.
back. And when you start thinking about what's real and what's not real, right? Did I actually write that or didn't write that? I think what's going to happen, and I've been so against any kind of you know digital uh you know card or digital something that ties
Like
me
the
in
soulbound stuff.
style by stuff. But at the same time, you start going, well, how are you going to know if you were actually the person that created that? Right. I mean, because now the AI can just create the videos, do the stuff. Did I really do it? So I think the problem is it's going to have to be some form of a digital identity. But the point is it needs to be decentralized and you control your data.
Right.
That's the problem. That's
In
where
other
it gets
words,
ugly.
like we own, like I told people this, like with medical records and stuff, like too. I think it's ridiculous that I don't actually own my own medical records. I have to
Uh,
go ask for permission, and then they can say no.
yeah.
They can say no. I mean, there's or I'm completely dependent. If I need to get medical help here, they
Right.
go, well, you got to get this person to transfer the documents. Well, first of
Mhm.
all, I'm my own boss.
Right.
Okay. And I should have my medical records. I should own those so that I can just scan it. I could walk into my appointment, scan something, a QR code or whatever, a chip, whatever. I don't care. And there you go. There's my medical records. I own them. They belong to me. When I
They're
bring them
on
to
your
the
chain.
office and I take
Yep.
them when I leave. And I bet you we'll have I hope we have a movement that does that, because we got to own this stuff.
Well, see, that's the beauty of NFTs, right? People don't understand what NFTs are. They think it's a JPEG of an ape, right? It's
Yeah.
a little thing. And that's once people start to get past that, it's not, that's not what it is. It's not about a rug pull. It's not about a
Yeah.
fake piece of art. How can this JPEG? It's because people don't understand the power of an NFT. The NFT allows you to basically build stories on it, authenticate, access control. There's so many things that
It's a
NFTs, I
ledger,
believe,
right? That
every I
shows
just
transactions.
yeah. I believe everything's going to get NFT'd. It's going to be one of the most powerful tool sets out there. And records can be another opportunity to tie those medical records into NFTs that sit on a blockchain that you own. So, like even with our company, we're launching Loot 8 right now, which is a fully
Yes, yes.
decentralized system. But the point, the criteria that my business partner, who's the CTO and everything, is you have to own everything. You own all your data. You have access to it all. If our company goes out of business, you still have access to everything.
Mhm.
That was a
That's the power of
criteria.
decentralized.
It's decentralized. Our application, believe it or not, there are very, very few true decentralized systems out there. There's many that talk about it and say they're Web3 applications, and they're really not. And a lot of them run their servers on AWS. And I mean, even if you look at crypto.com, or you look at the Flow Network running Top Shot, those are sitting on servers. Those are not real assets that you own. And that's the beauty of decentralized Web3 and the concept of
So how do we get that? Because
tokenization.
how do we get to that point? Because I struggle with that difficulty. So we're working on this platform and it's going very well, that helps to alleviate a lot of the problems we believe in social media. And really, I call it more of an evolution. We're not just trying to slap some band-aids on and say, oh no, I'm trying to evolve where I believe social media is meant to go,
Yeah.
which it means it's actually useful and actually
Yep.
relevant to us. And more power and ownership and revenue is back on the user. However, some of the difficulties I face is the hurdles that come with trying to add a decentralized aspect. For instance, very few can compete with the power of AWS.
Mhm.
And so I go and I'm like, listen, if I believe my product's going to work the way I believe it'll work, that's billions of users, right? If I
Yeah.
really believe in it.
Oh, trust me. Yeah.
So the struggle I have is, okay, I looked at people like Flux, right? A decentralized platform that we could run on as an alternative to AWS, but they can't keep up. They can't
It's
even. And
very
so
hard.
so what do
Very,
we
very.
do?
No, it's very, very difficult. Well, a lot of this is getting alleviated. Things are going to happen in this next year that I think are going to change, because certain technologies are coming up, happening on the layer threes and stuff. And, the gas fees are going to go away. Scalability is about to happen in a big way. Again, what you talk about is really hard. We've had 20 engineers building this thing for 2 years, and it's a heavy lift.
I
This
believe it.
isn't like it's just like, oh, you can just go slap something together and make it happen. When you're trying to stay decentralized, stay on track, on chain, cross chain, making sure that everything is,
Yeah.
your social media is decentralized, your assets, your data you own. It gets very complex, very complex. But that's become, from my point of view, that's really becomes the holy grail. But because of the technologies that are basically are ready to like pop anytime, that's
So
going to
it's just a
change the game.
technological advancement, like anything else. Then is what you're thinking. It's just as simple as like,
It's
right?
code. They'll figure it
Data
out.
storage online was a thing of the past for so long, and now it's the thing of the future. It's data storage online. AWS and Microsoft has their own, and more people are doing that. So you think it's just a technological thing that will make it more affordable, more robust, to where
Yeah,
a
it's going to get
decentralized platform will have the
it's
technology it takes to scale at
it's
enterprise levels.
it's all like this because again, the application we built is an enterprise level thing, and it will scale. And it's a heavy lift, and it's very complex. That's why it took so long and so many people to build this thing, because you're right. Once you start putting loads on, how do I stay completely on chain and not deal with any servers? And so there's a it's very complex, but like I said, there's a series of technologies that are going to be coming on that I think we're about ready to onboard. We have this 1 to 2% of the population that knows crypto, and it's like, oh, I got to go get MetaMask. I got to have seed phrases. I mean, it's just too much, right? But now we're moving where I can just onboard somebody with a click of their social feed. They build their whole wallet. They manage all their own stuff. They actually control their data. They control their assets. So these things they're coming together now, and I think we're going to see some major advancements in this next year. Where I believe we're getting ready to hit into a major bull market. As long as the world doesn't collapse, we'll see what happens there.
We'll
And
see
actually,
what happens.
it may actually help drive the crypto market as people try to realize that fiat currency is pretty much in trouble right now, like really
It's
in
a
trouble.
scam.
It's a scam.
It
I mean,
really
the whole thing's
is.
a scam. I mean, the
I mean,
Western Southern,
once we
the whole
got
thing,
off the gold standard, it became the
dude.
most corruptible, manipulated, useless asset ever. Is
Oh my God.
when we had gold, there was a level of accountability, and
Yeah.
now once you take gold out of the picture, you literally say anything goes. What do you
Oh
mean that Congress can just be like, yeah, let's raise the debt ceiling? What's the point of even having the conversation if all you can do is just always raise it? They do it every year. They pretend that they're not going to do it and they're at an impasse. And then here we go again. They raise the debt ceiling. What's the point? It's not like our dollar's backed by anything.
no. I mean, listen. If you think about the dollar, it's lost since 1971 when they took it off the gold standard. It's lost 98% of its value. Right. And remember, Bitcoin and the dollar hit parity. I don't think it was 2010 or 11, where it was $1 Bitcoin and $1 per dollar. Look at it now, $43,000 to $1. It takes 43,000 pieces of that paper now to go buy that Bitcoin. What
Yeah,
is
I
that
look
trying to
forward
tell
to
you?
when it's, I do so much in varying businesses and varying businesses across the world. I've got developers in India, and investors in Canada, and
Right.
assistants in the Philippines, and all of that. And it's so unbelievably frustrating. Like an example right now, one of the investors is attempting to make their payment to me. They're in Canada, I'm in the US. Not that far away, not that difficult of a currency transition. We try with the bank, their banks in Canada, endless conversations, right?
No.
So then we go, let's go to one of the streamlined platforms. I'm going to call them out. We went to Wise. It's been 3 weeks now, and Wise still hasn't located the investor's money. They don't know where it is. And I'm like, I should be able to just send it to him. He should be able to send it to me. It's our money. Why do I have to get permission and clearance from a dozen different
Yeah.
institutions to go
Yep.
to a deal? If I want to send you money, Scott, I should just be able to be tap and it goes directly to you, not through a bank, not through an insurance company. And that's the thing that I'm like, and it should be 24/7. Why do I have to wait for when they're like, yeah, you're right. Okay, now we'll get to your transaction.
Yeah. Why they have to wait is because that's their system and
Yeah,
you're
they
outside
have
of
to.
their
Yeah,
system. The only reason you have to wait is because they're doing everything they can to keep you in that
that's
system. Because
right. They go, oh,
over here in the crypto world, it's like, oh yeah, I just do a gig over in Argentina. Boom, the guy hits a button. Boom, Bitcoin in my wallet. Done.
that's
Thank you very
right.
much.
And that's
I
the way
got
it
paid
should
like this.
be, right? And so
Right?
I
It's like
really look
crazy.
forward to
I mean,
that streamlined process.
yeah.
And so I don't actually usually ask this question, but I really want to ask it of you is what do you think has to happen to where the shift in the mentality comes to where you and I, everyday people, view the cryptocurrency, not you and I specifically, because we already view it differently, but view them as an alternative currency versus an asset that is a stock that we buy and sell and option and hold. That's not the point of crypto. The crypto is the freedom and the control for the individual.
Yeah.
So what do we need to do to get to the point where I can just pay you directly?
Well, see, I think that's happening in the sense that it's putting the fear of God in the banks. The Western central banks are fighting. You know, they want to put us on that CBDC, which is not going to happen. The people are waking up too much. They see what's going on, even in our own government here. You know, they're like saying, you know, we've at least got enough people in Congress now that are saying no, you know, because they hold the purse, so they can't get anything through. You've got
Mhm.
states here that are saying no way because people are seeing what it actually means. Now, obviously, if they drive us down and we have so much inflation and we create so much poverty and everything, it's real easy to say, "Hey, go to this website, download this app, and there'll be $1,000 a month in there for you." Because you can see the goal is to push us into a more socialist style of living, right?
Yeah, yeah, of
To move us
course.
into another space.
I mean,
But
history
what's
shows that
happening
time and
is
time again.
you're seeing what's happening in Ecuador. You're seeing what's happening with Russia. You're seeing what's happening. All these countries now are going, no Western central
Well,
banks.
I mean, how
They're
about even
adopting.
Ukraine? And I won't get into the political side of it, but I mean, just in a practical standpoint, we saw with the Ukraine that the moment that Russia invaded, banks stopped letting people have money. Again, I'm not saying take sides because there's a lot more wrapped in the Ukrainian Russian conflict than people know
Big time.
about. But
Yeah.
the point is, they were absolutely powerless. They didn't own anything.
No,
But the thing
that's the
is
point.
that if I got a buddy over in Ukraine who needs me, I should be able to send it to him. And again, that doesn't mean that I'm advocating for one side or the other. I'm just
No.
saying that we should be able to do that.
Yeah. You would
Help who we
think.
want to help when we want to help them.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's so obvious now. And you're like I said, you're seeing countries saying no to the Western central banks and their systems. And I think people are waking up. Remember Ecuador, they were talking about, oh, their Bitcoin's it's crashing, it's burning. And now they're like, no, everything's really good. We made all our payments, life's good, right?
Yeah, Ecuador
So
is very, very interesting to see. They took a huge gamble. And the thing is that they're ahead of their time. They
mhm,
are taking a risk. That is true. They absolutely are. No different than when the pilgrims came over to these undiscovered shores as far as Westerners were considered, and they took a risk saying, "Can we make this work?" And there was a lot of pain and a lot of suffering to then inevitably, and I would arguably say that created the greatest country that we've ever seen as far as life and liberty is concerned. And so Ecuador is saying, listen, what's our alternative? Because right now, nothing else is working. We are crashing and burning. So what do we care if this either puts out the fire or helps diminish it a little bit, or it's a little bit of gasoline onto a ship that's already sinking?
yeah, the risk was not doing something was the biggest
Exactly.
risk,
'Cause
right?
they
So
were already
yeah,
crash landing. I mean, they were in the dumps and they said something's gotta change, and I think what a lot of citizens forget is that the change that makes an impact, it's not the change that feels good.
oh
It
no, listen,
hurts so bad.
it's going to get paid. 24 is going to get pretty painful. If anybody, because remember, what's happened is they've gotten people not able to free think anymore.
Mhm.
They can't free think. They're too locked into their. They've created this what I call hate in the name of love. It's okay for me to hate because I'm so loving and I have I'm such a caring, loving person, but that person over there is evil, right? It's like it's the craziest thing that I mean, it's wild what we're seeing going
So
on. This human behavior, man.
that
I'll
makes
tell
me
you.
think, so who do you think, and if you wanna name them, it could be a company, a person, political
Right?
figure, I don't care. Who do you think is hurting social media the most right now? Meaning using
Hurting it?
it in the worst way.
Oh, I mean, I think Google, Facebook. I think to be personally, I know it's crazy, but I'm a massive Elon Musk fan because he took a shot at a chance at basically opening the doors for us to see what's really going on under the hood, which we
Yeah,
now
you
know. I
know
mean,
what's
he
funny
opened
is
the door.
people hate on him because it's easy, but the reality is that if you stand him up against everybody else who has had his position of wealth and power,
Yeah,
he is night and day different.
yeah.
Is he perfect? No.
No,
But nobody is, and we're
yeah,
not basing on the level of someone's perfectionism. We're basing on
yeah.
what do they do with the power that they
That they
have.
have.
And
Yeah,
I would argue that I don't even really care that much of whether he's doing it because, some people are like, well, he's just a narcissist. I'm like, I don't really care
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, I'd rather have his version of narcissism, if that's
Yeah.
true. I'm not saying it is, but I'd
Yeah.
rather have his version of narcissism than, let's say, Mr. Zuckerberg's,
Yeah.
or I'll even throw it out there, Bill
Yeah.
Gates. I would rather have the Elon version that is opening more doors for everyday people, exposing more truths. I don't really care if he's doing it because he wants to be viewed as a hero or not. I personally, I just
I
don't
mean,
really
that's the point.
care.
Yeah, I mean, what it gets so funny that the politics is so much that they'll just say, "Oh, the guy's really stupid. He's really dumb. He spent $44 billion on X, right? Oh yeah, the guy. It's so funny. SpaceX, freaking killing it in space. All the satellite stuff that he's got going on. Freaking tunnels he's drilling. Freaking electric cars. Oh yeah, I mean, obviously we're seeing right now. People don't realize we're watching the new Green Deal is crashing, right? It's completely crashing right now because it ain't ready. We ain't ready for this one yet. And I'm an alternative guy. I want to have alternatives, great. But the point is, you cannot force this on people on technologies that aren't ready, and people aren't like. I just anybody out there, just go look up and watch. There's a great documentary on how batteries are made.
Mm.
Just go watch that, right? And then think about what's going on, right? So, I mean, there's just so much. Free thinking is the big thing that we have to get above here. People can't free think anymore because they're so locked in. And it's so fascinating because I have friends that I think are just some of the most brilliant minds that I've known for years. They're even trapped. They can't get out of the matrix,
It's
right? They're
it it
locked
it
into
is
the matrix.
really, really hard. I
It's
mean,
weird.
it's so, so hard because part of it, this is just my theories, right?
Yeah.
Part of it is that, like how you see those movies, plenty of them over the years, where someone has the power to read someone's mind, and
Mhm.
it's the worst thing ever that ends up happening to them. They
Right.
end up wanting to blow their brains out because here's the thing. We weren't designed to know most of what's happening in someone's life.
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
when we went to social media and we started, listen, I don't care if you hate Hillary Clinton or not. I don't care about those things. But now I'm knowing things that I'm not supposed to know. I'm
Yeah,
not supposed to know everything you hate and everything you love and all the good and all the bad. I'm not supposed to know that. We're adults. We're supposed to be judicial about the information we share and who we share it with. We share
correct.
private information with our doctors relating to medical things. We share private information with our spouses. But I have personally seen, meaning people I know, go to TikTok to air their dirty laundry about their spouse. And I'm like, where do you think that's going to go? You think you're gonna get, and they went viral, by the way. This person that I knew went viral for the video they made about how their spouse responded to an outfit they put on. And I said, that's your solution to
Yeah,
love?
remember.
Oh God.
No, no, I know, man. Remember,
We're not
this is
supposed to know that. And the thing is that here's the hard part. Let's say that I liked that individual that went and aired their dirty laundry. My perception changes.
yep,
Now, if they thought that way or not, that's between them and their spouse. But now that I know they think and act a certain way, it makes it so hard for me to view them as anything else because we're
yeah.
not supposed to know this stuff.
No, I know. It's just remember, this is a very interesting time. I see humans designing themselves out of work, out of jobs, out of everything because this they're getting in there and trying to get in the heyday. Now, handfuls of people will be able to deal with the changes that are coming because they're going to be on the forefront. They're going to use the tools. They're going to find the niches. But those average Joes that are going to be out there are going to be caught so it's mind boggling to think about. Again, I'm a technologist. I've been in tech on 4 companies, so I'm close to the market, man. I stay close to the market. I have to. It's my business, right? Uh, what we're about to see is truly mind boggling. I never thought in my life that I would ever see what's going on now. The good news, everything happens the way it's supposed to happen. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. Right. So whatever's going on right now has to happen. Right. This is what has to go down. This is everything's going to be what it's going to be. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be insane. But I think by the time we get to the other end of this, I think this is going to be the great awakening and that we've all been waiting for, where I think the banks are going to shift, where we're going to get into different currencies. I think
There was
Of
do you remember, love him or hate him? I don't care, but do you remember Ron Paul?
course, yeah, I love Ron Paul.
There was many people viewed him as an extremist in
Yeah,
his time when he was running, because he basically his whole premise was burn it all to the ground. That's
right.
essentially what he would say. Then we're sitting here, and I always think I have children, and I always have to think, how do I teach them objectively,
Hmm.
not based off of my sins and my perspective. How do I help them to reason through the truth? And when I
Right.
was looking at all the questions that they ask and all the questions other people ask me, which is, well, how do we fix this problem? And how do we fix this problem? When I look at it all, it's like, we got to burn it to the ground. Not in anarchy style. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, if the institution is 98% cancerous, you don't
Yep.
say that you're just going to save the institution and just cut out the cancer.
Yeah.
You burn the body because there's
Mhm.
nothing good left to
Yeah.
save, and you have to find a new vessel that you can use to
Yep.
facilitate what you need to do. And I look at the banks, and man, I always knew they were corrupt, but my goodness, I never realized until really I started digging into it just how bad it is. People just don't even comprehend that,
No.
like, they will take a dollar, loan that dollar to another bank, who will then loan that dollar back to that bank. How is that even and that's just one piece. They'll do that 9 times. I believe it's like 9 times on average. It might even be more than that. It might, I'm sure my
Yep.
numbers are low. And I'm just like, you can't preserve. That's not a system that gets better. That's a system that has to die
Oh
in
yeah.
order for something new to live.
Oh, it already is. You can see that, and the people are waking up. Did you see how much gold they sold out of Costco?
Costco, I thought that was
$100 million worth of gold in the
awesome.
last quarter or whatever it is. There's a reason. You think people are buying all that gold because they think things
They're
are okay?
collectors? No.
No, 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 no. This is listen. The game is over. Anybody that understands, if you really follow this closely, you look. The game is it's over. The game is over. It's last gasp now with everything they can, but it's done. The
I
the
agree. I
model is.
really think that the more
I
that
think,
we arm people, right? And I think when you look at the Constitution, again, one of the things that makes the Constitution so great is it's the great
unbelievable.
equalizer. As far as we have in this world, the Constitution is the great equalizer, where it says, if the government has it, you should have it too. Whether that's access to data, whether that's access to military
Yep.
weapons, right? People make the old joke. And again, I don't really care where you stand. I'm not arguing for or against Second Amendment. I'm saying, if you read the Constitution, people go, well, they had muskets back then. We don't need, I go, muskets back then were military grade weapons. And so I look at everything, the tools that are being built, and I go, man, if we put these in the hands of the people, we're going to be armed for data collection and privacy, for
Mhm.
accountability and transparency, physically, mentally. We have to be armed. And I think that comes from the individual having
Yeah.
access to these tools that we equip to our lives that
It's called
allow
freedom.
us to contend.
Called freedom. It's called
Yes.
freedom, right? Access.
Yes.
That's it. That's the beautiful part. Everybody says, "Oh, we got to change the Constitution." No, the Constitution is actually it is. It's one of the great things because you may not like everything, but it definitely puts cements it in the ground, makes things much clearer,
Yeah.
right? That's its job.
Yeah.
It's simple. It's just the rules, and I'm a Constitution. I love the
I
Constitution. I
love
think
the Constitution.
it's so
And I
important, and it
didn't
was just
growing up
amazing.
because I just didn't understand,
Correct.
I just didn't understand its value. And then the problem is that we keep diminishing its value, because every time we make an amendment to the Constitution, every time we establish another law, people think that we're making it better. But the reality is that we're making it worse. Because here's
Yep.
the thing, right? And again, I don't care where anybody stands on this. I don't
Yep.
care what people's religions are on this. Gay marriage was a big thing. They went to the Supreme Court to say, hey, um, people should be allowed to be married, right? Marry who they want to
Right.
marry. Well, here's the thing. The Constitution already allowed the individual to choose that.
Mhm.
That already existed. It was our failure to adhere to the Constitution. But
Right.
the Constitution didn't define for us what marriage was.
No.
What it did was define for us the right to choose who we marry.
Right.
And then what happens is that we didn't honor the Constitution in its pure form. So now we have 1,500 laws in America, federal laws in America, and it's probably way more than that. I'm just lowballing it. And we have all these amendments. And every time we do that, we're actually chipping away at our freedom.
Exactly.
We're chipping
Exactly.
away at our right because now the government can say, well, actually, you don't fall on our guidelines. But it's not the government's guidelines. That's the problem. The government is not the Constitution.
Right. Right.
And the government shouldn't be allowed to touch the Constitution. But now that we've handed the Constitution over to them, and in fact, you've got large mass amounts of people going, yeah, the Constitution's outdated. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like saying freedom is outdated.
Yeah, no question. They don't understand the Constitution when they say that. They don't
Yeah.
understand how it works. It's like, again, you're not going to like everything. It's not going to be perfect for everyone, but it is the levels the playing field, right? It just does it in a way that's unique, and it like keeps us basically decentralized. It's not like, we've got states, right, which is a decentralized system. I got differences. Hey, I don't like this state. I can at least go over to this state. I can move around.
Yeah.
It's sovereignty. It basically handles. But yeah, you can see that the goal right now is to try to destroy that. Right, they're trying to do everything to get rid of it, so that
Right,
these.
because if they destroy the Constitution, while they also destroy currency, while they also destroy everything else that's being destroyed, there is no individual that exists anymore.
Yeah.
They're gone. We disappear. But like you said, I see this revolution happening. I see companies coming in and saying, we're going to teach people how to authenticate and take control over there. I see what you're doing with Loop 8. I see like what we're trying to do, right, with our platform. We're
Mhm.
trying to, we're all these startups are coming in and trying to figure out a way of, okay, there's a really big problem. How do we fix it? What tools essentially do we need to equip people with
Mhm.
to be able to fight against massive global? It's not just the US. Every country in the world is trying
Yeah.
to delete the individual.
Remember, the war we're in right now is really a spiritual war at the highest level. This is good and evil. This is not about you know what people think. This is basically a war. It was really interesting. I saw two things. I listened to a podcast of a guy interviewing a Satanist priest, a guy that was the top in the priesthood for 30, 40 years, like one of the guys, but he ended up leaving because it got too much for him. Right. He
Mhm.
said, this is too deep.
Yeah.
So the guy said, well, what did they say to you when you decided to leave and you were going to go out and start telling everybody what's going on? He says, oh, they all laughed. He says, first of all, they said they're not going to believe you. Number one, nobody's going to believe you. Number two is we own your entertainment business. We're already in your entertainment. We're in your banks. We're in your schools. We're in your government. We're everywhere. And
Everywhere.
he says, but most people don't understand what it is. They don't. He says it's not about a kid sacrificing animals in the back room, right? That's not what Satan. It's
No.
ideology, and he says once you see it, you see it everywhere. The ideology is it's all about me. If it feels good, just do it. Morals are secondary. So that's where it gets weird, and
Or
that
don't
goes
even
again.
exist.
That's what I'm saying. Morals become a secondary. You're seeing it. It's almost like the Roman Empire. We're watching people party, and especially now with all this music and stuff. I mean, I went to an event the other. I'm not going to say who it was. It was like so demonic and so satanic. It blew my mind. And what was really interesting is that before the show, they threw on this low end frequency that was going, whoa. But it was at that frequency you could just feel your entire body, but it was very pleasing. Like it was very like it felt good, but they let this thing run for like 5 minutes, and you could just feel the whole audience kind of getting into this thing. And then the next thing, it was all fluorescent lights and red. That was it, fluorescent white and red, the whole show. And I don't even want to get it. It was like I'm like I can't even believe what I'm watching here right now, because it starts playing on all those darker sides of human psyche and stuff. So anyway, the idea of morals. And then I saw it was very interesting, that fantastic. I love this. Her name is oh gosh, I just did a blank. Um, oh gosh, I can't even remember. Anyway, she was big time war. I'll think of it in a minute. Big time war correspondent, right? She for years you'd see her in the trenches during all the wars and things and stuff. And she came out and she had gotten an interview with the people that sit above the Western central banks. So you
Mm,
have the Western central banks, the money, and then you have the real money that's been handed down for thousands of years.
yep.
It's like the big global powers of the stuff. She said she had a meeting with them, and she said they would see her and talk to her, but she could not talk about who it was. Couldn't It was Laura Logan. So if you've great workhorse, incredible thing. She said she came out and she says, out of that meeting, here's what they want to know. There's only one thing they care about. They don't care about the people. They don't care about the money. They care about one thing: destroying God.
Mm,
So think about it. If you start looking at
Tower Babel.
what's going on with the children, what's happening, and all this stuff that's going on, a 5-year-old child to be able to determine whether it wants to be a boy or a girl. I mean, just even the conversation of that is just kind of mind-boggling. When we won't even let kids do things up until they're 18 years old. They
And
parents
even
are supposed
then,
to
they're
control.
still heavily restricted. They have to jump through hoops to do certain things.
Exactly. So now you're actually putting that and actually coming up with bills that can do that. And there's just so many kind of really crazy, demonic-y kind of weird things that are going on. People are waking up, right? I mean, I'm telling you, my neighbors pulled their kids out of school, gone to private. They're doing a whole thing because it was just crazy when they heard that the child can go to the school, right? And say, hey, I want to be a girl, right? And not to tell the parents. They said, that's my child. I I created that. It's my responsibility to pay for it till it's 18. And you're telling me that my kid can come in here and tell you stuff, and then you're not going to tell me about it? 5 years old, my child wants to be a boy when it's a girl or whatever, and you're not going to tell me? They said done. They pulled their kids out, and that's it. And what you're seeing is that coming across everywhere because there's just things that don't make sense. Remember the matrix. We've got to
Well, we
step
see
out of the
now
matrix. How do we get
the
out of it?
school board problems. We're seeing in every county and every state. We're seeing good parents who are becoming aware, addressing these school boards with major problems left and right, and
Yeah.
the school board being flat out in denial,
Yeah.
unwillingness, removing these people, even when it's
Sure.
against the law. Even when someone has a right to speak, they will still and so it kind of reminds me of the gross overstep of government officials when COVID uh, first came out. And you had people entirely bypassing the legislative process to enact laws. You had the Surgeon General of California telling police officers to citate or arrest people that were outside without a mask, but that was never legislatively approved.
No. Remember what happens is a lot of these things. Listen, the Constitution is kicking ass right now, right? It's winning all those cases. But what happens is the people know that it's going to take 2 years. I'm just going to throw this into the courts. We're going to lose, but for 2 years, I can do all this stuff that I can make it happen. And then, oh, it was unconstitutional. Well, 2 years later, it's like, okay, it's too late now. We weren't able to get on airplanes. We weren't able to go thing, and we know that like in that case, they were
And
saying
you
that
chipped away. It may be
yeah,
unconstitutional, but we have changed from COVID.
yeah, oh,
We
big time.
have willingly given up more rights, and we're more apt to give up more rights. We're more apt to take a vaccine that maybe before. And again, I'm not here to debate the
Yeah,
validity. That's a whole different conversation for a whole different
absolutely.
show. But we are more willing to blindly accept the rules and the gameplay that's being set before us. And so it always works, even when the Supreme Court may turn around and say that's unconstitutional. The damage is done.
It's over. That's the point, and
Right?
that's
It's
the
it's like
cool.
the after effect. Someone turns around and intentionally hits you with their car and puts you in the hospital, and you may win the court case, but the damage is done.
Yep,
Your car is totaled, your life is disrupted, and your body has changed forever. Your
yep.
mind has changed forever.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think most people just realize they're all caught up in this matrix, right? They don't realize the matrix is controlling them right now. It's so easy to what we've learned from this is how easy it is to manipulate the humans, right? To do specific things, to get behind it and live it. I mean, if anything, it was mind-boggling to me.
Mm.
Mind-boggling to me to watch what was going on, right? And But again, it's about being able to free think and just be able to like not take a side. That's what I like what you're saying is I'm not taking a side because my thing is I'm with you. I'm with the people. We should all be on the same side. I should be able to say what my thoughts are. Here's what I just what
Right.
I
The
learned.
the the
You show me
left
what
and
you
the
learned, and then
right,
we debate.
right. The left and the right should be working together to build a government that we're happy with.
Yep.
Right. That's why George Washington in his farewell address said,
Well, they are
don't.
working together as a uniparty, but that's like a different story.
Well, no,
They're
no,
not
no.
working for
I mean
they're
the
not working for the
people,
good of the people.
yeah, the
Yeah, but
people who identify as a
yeah,
left
yeah,
or right or
yeah,
extreme this and extreme that. We are so dense and so foolish
yeah,
to think
yeah.
that the parties serve any value at all to us, the people. Either
Right.
side. I do not believe either side at the end of the day, the party system in any ways. And again, that's why I go back to George Washington who in his farewell address said, please do not have a two-party system because all you're doing is encouraging people to take sides and allow corruption of money to dictate what those sides represent.
Yep. Yep.
When at the end of the day, it's like, it's you and me. Like you said, it's you and me.
That's
And I'm a Christian and there may be a Muslim over there. But at the end of the day, if we're in America, we're still supposed to objectively be on the same side. We don't have to
right.
be on the same side religiously. We don't have to be in they can run their family and I run my family the way we do. But objectively, when it comes to the government, data, freedom, rights, liberties,
We
we're
all have it.
supposed to be on the same side, but we're not.
I
And in the
know it's crazy.
process of that division, both sides are giving up. And when I say both sides, just one person who believes this and one person who believes an opposing view are giving up more and more of their rights and freedoms, thinking that somehow they're winning. What are we
That's
winning?
this is why it goes back to psychological warfare. This is what we're watching: behavioral science at its finest. How do I manipulate people to basically do what we want them to do?
Yeah.
They're like Pavlov. They're like little dogs. It's the hooked model. I keep playing this little hook, get a little reward, I get a trigger, then I give you a reward, and then you see how that little model works, and it's perfect. Again, remember we got all this money. They gave us free money. Yippee, yippee, we got all this free money, and then what? Oh, now inflation is destroying everything. It's all going down. I mean, it's just it's crazy. It's really so interesting to see this behavior. But I think again, I
But I
think
think this
people
is the
are waking
burning.
up.
I think this is
It
the
is. It
burning
is. It, yeah.
but what I
It,
think what happens is I think that those of us who believe in you got to
yeah.
burn it to the ground to build something better. Um, those of us believe that we thought we'd be the ones throwing the fire, but I think they're burning themselves.
Oh no, they
I
are.
think
They're
they're
taking
setting
themselves down.
themselves
They
on
have to.
fire
They have
to
to because in
right.
order to shift us into a new system, they've got to destroy the old system.
Right. And I think
But
in the process of them burning themselves, we've got cases of gasoline over here going, oh, I want this to burn, but you're not going to build what you think you're going to
that's the
build to
problem.
replace it.
Who gets to build it, right? Who builds it
And
back?
that's why what you're doing, what I'm doing, what other people are doing by equipping the individual, that's
Yeah.
why it's so important. So that in our lives, as much as is reasonable, we can build what we want for our lives. We
Yeah.
can choose who has our data, who has my medical records, and we don't have to ask permission. If I want to be an idiot and share them with you, Scott, that's my choice.
That's right.
That's my choice. And the truth is that that choice should have always been mine. I shouldn't have to call a doctor to ask permission for them to give me my medical records so then I can give them to a new doctor. Who the heck gave them that right? How is that even possible? And you know what's even crazier? Let's say you go to the hospital and you want a copy. They charge you. They charge you for the data they collected from you that you already paid for.
Oh yeah.
It's my data.
Yep. Well, it's complex. I actually had a company called Direct to Care. We were in the medical space, so I learned a lot about that whole thing, especially medical records and all that. It's very complex. I mean, it's such a complex thing because none of the systems talk to each other.
Right.
Right. You've got all these
Yeah.
different systems.
Again,
They don't
Tower
talk. Some of
Babel.
them are
You got this massive tower you're trying to
yeah.
build, and everybody's speaking a different language.
Yep.
It's terrible. All
So
right,
it's
so let me
very
ask you a
complex.
fun question. I
All right.
always like
Fun
to ask
question.
this question. Okay.
All right.
If you had all the money,
Yeah.
all the power, in other
Mhm.
words, no resistance, you didn't have to go through legislations, board of directors, nothing like that. You
Yeah.
snap your fingers and it happens. And you were the CEO of the biggest social media company in the world. What would you do right now, today, to make social media better?
Well, first of all, I think there's only one answer for humans in general is we have to take an inward journey. We have to wake up spiritually in the sense and realize we're not to be identified with thinking in mind. I think the first thing, gosh, that's like a really good question. What would I do? I mean, first of all, I would want to try to get as much transparency into the systems that are out there so people can really understand. Because again, if anybody's out there, if you want to see what's really happening, go see that movie, Social Dilemma. That will blow your mind. I don't know if you haven't seen it. Everybody should see it. Every parent should see
Agreed.
it. Everybody should understand what's happening. Um, I think, again, it'd be all about transparency and making sure the algorithms aren't there to do it, taking the power away from certain people that are basically controlling the data. I'd want to give control back to people, take all their data, control their data.
All right,
That
so
would be
let's
the
stick
first.
with the first one. You said transparency,
Yeah.
which I'm a huge fan of and advocate tremendously.
Open source the algorithms. Let's see
Yeah,
the algorithm.
I think it's really important. So when you say that, are you saying when you say transparency, you're saying whatever happens on the social media platform, they will know why and how.
Well, yeah, we'll know why what we're doing. Why is this happening this way, right?
Why am I
And I
seeing what I'm
think,
seeing? What are you doing with what you're collecting? What are you collecting? Who is buying it?
yeah,
I would really love to know who is actually in possession of my data. I'm not opposed, but by the way, I'm not opposed to selling my data. I'm not.
no,
We sell our data all the time. We've been selling it long before the internet existed. We sold
yeah,
data, but I would like to know who has it. I'd like to know who my data is being sold to. Because here's the thing, most people won't care at the end of the day. But if I don't support a certain company, I would love to be able to not give data to that company. I really would. I'd like to not help them do something that I don't think they should be doing.
yeah. Well, that's the beauty of decentralization and what we're talking about. Again, you control your data. That's where we're moving to. The thing about NFTs and about what's going on is the complete. Somebody's trying to call me. Sorry about that.
Now you're good. You're good. I understand.
Um, the
The decentralization
Yeah,
of
the decentralization where it gives you the power to control your own data, your own your likeness, everything about you. That's the power of what this means. The whole idea of changing ownership is what this is all about, which puts the fear in all those third parties, right? I lose control of all that data. I think the concept of a personal cloud where I manage my data. If I want to sell my data, I should be able to sell it, make money off, but I should get the money, not these other guys, right? That are
yeah,
making all the money because people don't realize when you're on social media, you're the product. You're the freaking
absolutely.
product. They're making money off of you. You're getting scammed, right? And so that's I think we're on the technology is finally getting there where I
Yes.
think that's going to happen. I think because of all the stuff that's going on right now, when people start realizing how hard it is to put food on their table and inflation, the government's going to come out and tell us today, oh, inflation's fine, it's tame, 2%. What? The dollar's lost 98% of its value. How can you tell me 2%? I mean, what
Yeah.
it's
There's got
insane.
to be context, and the context is
And
that
yeah, they all remember, content is king, but context is God, right? That's the way.
oh, I like that. I like that.
Context is really the thing that drives everything, right? Everybody says, "Oh, content's king," yeah, but context is God because all that, right? So, yeah,
So
it's
are
a
you
very.
on social media? I'm curious. Are you active on social media at all? Do
I
you
mean, I use it. I don't. I'll repost. I don't really post. I did. I was a period of time, early days in Twitter. I was early and I was in the social side of this thing very heavily. So I had my Twitter. I mean, I had my Twitter kind of had like almost 700 or 800,000 people, and then my account got hacked, and somebody took it over, and I couldn't get it back. And I was trying through all this stuff, and it just got so. I just said I got so fed
reminds
up
me
with
of
it.
kind of the Fediverse where the goal is to be able to own your audience so that like let's say that you either got banned and suspended, you don't lose the 700,000 people that you built up because even if you get hacked, that doesn't mean you lose it. Like I own real estate companies, and even if someone hacked my real estate company, the clients are still my clients.
Right.
Right? They may have disrupted the business, they may have disrupted communication, but they didn't take away the clients. They just made my job a lot harder in reaching the clients efficiently and
Right.
effectively, but they didn't take the clients away. But social media owns your business. You know, one of my favorite guys in the world is Mr. Beast.
Oh yeah, I love it.
He's amazing. He talks real hard facts about the reality. I love how outspoken he is, even against the platforms he uses. He's talked about YouTube's problems. He's talked about how much it pisses him off that his YouTube channels are valued at $20 billion. And he said he still can't get the rights to what type of ads are played on his videos. And so, for example, I used to think, again, when I was ignorant, I used to think conspiracy theory stuff. But
Yeah.
then as I started to wake to it, now I can't stop seeing it everywhere. I can't
Yeah.
stop seeing the truth everywhere. It's something as simple as the fact I don't drink alcohol in any capacity of any sorts. It's just my thing. You know, like that's just my thing. I still, when I watch Mr. Beast videos, get Jack Daniels ads. You know how stupid that is? Like,
Yeah. Right.
that's for Jack Daniels, that's absurdly stupid to try and reach someone who doesn't drink alcohol and hasn't had
They're
alcohol
trying to convert you.
15 years. It's stupid. It's bad marketing. It's bad for YouTube. And subconsciously, it makes me dislike the content I'm consuming because they're already putting a negative experience in my brain, which is
Right.
I'm seeing something I don't want to see. But the whole point of going to YouTube is to see things you do want to see.
Right. Yeah, that's why I'm saying decentralized systems are about to have a play here. I think we're about to see things because again, the tech is finally getting to that point. It's lining up. You're already seeing what's great about all this stuff. You know, it's so funny when they talk about Elizabeth Warren talking about, oh, cryptocurrency. That's where they do all this, money laundering and criminals
As
use
if,
it. Well,
as
what
if
have they been? What have they been using all this time?
the
Fiat
US
currency.
dollar is
You
the
know,
#1 currency used to launder and counterfeit money in the world.
you think she'd be happy because you can see what's happening on the blockchain. You can start to figure out who's doing what
Yeah,
because
you know
it's
what's so funny?
transparent.
I agree with you. Like rug pulls. Rug pulls happened since the dawn of time. Crypto allowed us to see it
Yep,
happening for the first time.
first time.
We were able to see in real time. And in fact, you had private investigators, that's what I'd call them, in crypto that were intelligent enough because they could get access to the blockchain. Because
Right.
I saw one guy, I loved following him. I don't remember, he had a lengthy username that was weird, so I didn't know how to say it. He showed me one time this massive crypto project where in the code they had a pre-built rug.
Yep.
Now,
Oh
here's
yeah.
people look at that and they go, scam. I go, listen, that already exists. But with crypto, we get to see it.
You can see exactly where it is. I mean, I I was part of a project recently where I never really I mean, I knew about this stuff, but I finally people were sending me some videos and some stuff of some of conversations of groups talking about their token that they're going to release and how they're going to manipulate it and all this stuff. And my mouth dropped. It was like, holy crap, man, this is like a real, they got a whole system for basically playing this game to basically rug pull and how they're going to go about it, how they build all these extra wallets to put the stuff into, to how to cover up their ad. They go through this whole thing. And I was just like, my mind was blown, right? I was just totally blown. Like I had no idea. And even though I'm a tech guy, I've been in this space all this time. But to hear how deviant, how these people kind of figure this stuff out, wow, it's
Then you go,
crazy.
man, imagine what the banks and governments will go to
Oh,
when they've had hundreds and thousands of years to build their systems of manipulation and
and we don't get to
corruption.
see it, and we don't even get to
And
see it,
I
right?
actually genuinely do love the fact that crypto shows it. I'll give you a great example. My
Yeah,
CPA is a very, very smart guy. He
yeah,
knows number. That's why he's my CPA. He
yeah.
knows numbers so well. He was intrigued by crypto a little bit, more of just a fun kind of like, let's see what this is about type of thing. He loves learning, right? Loves learning.
Right, right.
And um he invested in one of those pools where you deposit some money and then you take it out in 30 days. It's locked up. You take it out and you earned interest on it. Okay.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. He called me one time and he was so excited. He was like, checked out this pool. I mean, once I cash out, I made $5,000 off my $500 investment. That now it doesn't make him any less smart. What happens is that that was the system that was presented to him. And there was no reason to doubt that that's not how the system worked. But here's the beauty of crypto. Okay. I turned around, I was able to look up the code and I realized I was able to discover that there was no money. What happened with the pool was that there was a pool, and in essence, it was legitimate at first
Right.
because they deposited, thousands and thousands of dollars worth of stuff. And if you sat it there, other people would come in and deposit, and you would essentially make interest off the future deposits, and that's what you're cashing out. But if you deposit into a pool that has zero, you end up becoming exit liquidity for everyone else. So
Exactly.
I was able to call him and say, withdraw right now because there's $1,000 left in this pool. That's it. But I, an ignorant fool who knows next to nothing, was all able to decipher and figure out
Right.
that's amazing
Oh yeah,
because
no
now the
question.
power was between me and my own willingness to learn, and I was able to directly impact the life of someone I care about.
Right, right.
I didn't have to go through the bank. I didn't have to go through someone's fake fraud department. I didn't have to get a security cyber expert degree. All I did was look up a YouTube video that explained to me what to look for in these contracts. That's all I had to do. It took me about 5 minutes. It took me an extra 18 minutes to actually figure out how to find it on this platform, this website. And once I did, dude, I felt like the smartest person in the world. I felt like, I had just learned cybersecurity at the highest level and I was just the greatest programmer because I found something and I was able to
Yeah.
take charge. And that doesn't exist outside of the blockchain. It doesn't
No.
exist.
Nope.
No matter
Nope.
how transparent a company may be. And that's not to say they're bad companies, it's just the truth. Until it is public, all is public.
Hmm.
We won't know. But
Right.
I was able to know. I didn't have to ask a support line. I didn't have to request financial docs. I didn't have
No,
to
it's
do
great.
any of that garbage, right?
Yeah,
I was
that's the
able to
beauty.
know right away.
That's the beauty of it. There's no question. Again, it's going to get interesting. It's
I'm
going to be so.
excited. All right,
Yeah, I'm
last thing,
excited
Scott.
too.
Anything that you want to just say as final words to anybody watching, listening right now?
I'm going to say what I always say, my last thing, right? So, consciousness and waking up, taking an inward journey is the only thing that really matters. You blink, you're 50 years old, you blink, you're on your deathbed. Time is an illusion. I want everybody to understand that the only thing that's real right now is you and me talking. That's it. Because 2 minutes ago is an illusion in your head. There's nothing you can do. You can't touch it. You can't change it. You can't move it. You can't do anything.
Yeah.
2 minutes from now. So the point is, this is the only step that matters is the one that you're taking right now, because it's the only one that's real. It's the only one that you can change. And it's all about the ride. So don't worry about the outcome. Just make sure the ride is rocking, because that's all that matters. The step that you're taking right now, because it's the only one that's real. And why I say that is because to save humanity, we have to take that inward journey. We have to get out of being the thinker, because when we're locked into the ego and the mind, and then we see the world, we're seeing these images of things and we think that's real. It's not real. This is it right now, period.
Yes.
And then I ask you, what problem do you have right now? If there was a lion chasing you, maybe that'd be a problem, but you're just sitting there, right? So in reality, right at this moment, you have zero problem. Now, you might have some things you're thinking about and all
Right,
this
right,
stuff,
right.
but in reality, I'm drinking a cup of coffee and I'm sitting here and I could be suffering so badly because I'm identified with, oh my God, this is going to happen. This might happen. Oh my God, I'm envisioning these movies and all this stuff. So the reason I say this is the journey. This is where we as humanity, we have to wake up to get out of the matrix and realize we're not the thinker. We're actually the watcher. We need to unlock that piece and start to realize that the only thing that matters is what you're doing right at this moment and being able to recognize that a moment. And they always talk about it's like being more aware, being present, more aware. But
Yep.
here's the puzzle, folks. How do I know I'm aware that I'm aware? How do I know I'm aware that I'm aware? If you go solve that problem, life is smooth sailing from that point on, because then life becomes more playful. You're not identified with all this insanity that we go through as the human condition. You can step up, you can still free think, because you
Yes.
realize thinking is just a tool. It's not who you really are. And you really start to turn around. And that, to me, is what's going to save humanity as we start to wake up more. And I think that's happening because as people start getting pounded more and suffering starts to happen, it causes people to take an inward journey and get out of their freaking minds and start looking, taking a different point of view. And that's what we need to do. Remember, the world doesn't need saving. The world's fine. The world's fine. It's been spinning for billions of years. It's gonna keep spinning for billions of more years. If everybody just took care of everything around them, we'd be in great shape. So all I'm saying is inward journey, everyone. That's the most important thing that you can do on the planet. And the most important thing that we can do for humanity is to wake up. And from that, we will start to see we'll be more kind, we'll be more caring, and not the fake kind. Right. The fake kind is the one that says, oh, namaste, yoga, I'm out there, I think. And then it's like, fuck you, because you don't like what I like or
Yeah.
my political view. And then you go, well, that's not what it's about. Right. It's all about being aware that everybody's doing the best they can. Everybody does the best they can. If they could do better, they would do better. You don't wake up in the morning and say, geez, I can't wait to do the worst I can. No, it's just the insanity of, forgive for they know not what they do, right? That
Yes.
famous great quote, right? It's incredible. So
Mhm.
all I'm telling everybody, take that inward journey because it'll help everyone through this. It'll also help us all to be much kinder to one another. And once that happens, remember, we're in this spiritual war, good and evil, but good will win because the Fibonacci sequence and nature will always win in the end. Whether humans were around, we'll see. I don't know. Maybe we got to, will we last 100 years? I don't know. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. So this conscious thing, this thing that's spinning will just be fine and keep moving right along. So there you go. Cheers.
I love it, Scott.